Marcus Davidson wiped his brow as he catalogued another specimen in the research station's xenobiology lab. After 6 months aboard Starbase Horizon, Earth's first deep space research station, he'd gotten used to the endless stream of alien flora and fauna that passed through his lab. What he hadn't gotten used to was the loneliness. Sure, there were other scientists and crew members, but most kept to themselves, buried in their work. The lab doors hissed open, and Marcus's world changed forever. She had to duck to enter the lab, her massive frame barely fitting through the human-sized doorway. Standing at least 12 feet tall, the alien warrior's deep purple skin gleamed under the lab's harsh lighting. Her silver armor accentuated powerful muscles, while intricate markings decorated her exposed arms. For golden eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his breath catch. "You are Marcus Davidson, Xenobiologist Classification Level 8? Her voice was surprisingly melodious despite its otherworldly timbre. Marcus swallowed hard. "Why yes, that's me. You're Valkyrian, right? First time I've seen one of your people up close. I am Kthira, War Chief of the 7th Fleet." She strode toward him with fluid grace that belied her size. "I have observed you for 3 lunar cycles." Observed me? Marcus's mind raced. He'd heard rumors about the Valkyrian vessel that had been stationed nearby, but their species was notoriously private. Why? Kthira's upper set of eyes narrowed while the lower pair softened, an expression he couldn't quite interpret. "Among my people, warriors of high rank must choose mates worthy of continuing our lineage. We observe. We evaluate. We choose." Marcus's heart skipped a beat as understanding dawned. "Are you saying you show exceptional intelligence, adaptability, and courage? Your work with dangerous specimens demonstrates both precision and respect for life. These are qualities valued by my people." Kthira moved closer, and Marcus had to crane his neck to maintain eye contact. "I have chosen you as my mate." The lab suddenly felt very small. I'm honored, but this is quite unexpected. Our species are so different, and I don't know anything about Valkyrian customs or expectations. That is why there is a courtship period, Kthira explained, her tone softening. Time to learn, to understand, to prove compatibility. Do you accept my declaration of intent? Marcus looked up at the towering warrior. Despite her intimidating appearance, there was something captivating about her presence, a combination of strength and grace he'd never encountered before. His scientific curiosity mingled with an unexpected flutter of attraction. What exactly would accepting entail? You would study our ways, as I would study yours. We would determine if true bonding is possible between our kinds. She extended her hand, palm up, revealing intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer. It would not be easy. Many will oppose such a union. But I believe you are worth the challenge. Marcus thought of his lonely nights in the lab, of his lifelong fascination with alien life, of his desire to bridge the gap between species. Here was an opportunity to do something truly unprecedented, to learn about the Valkyrians in a way no human ever had before. I accept your declaration, he said, placing his much smaller hand in hers. The warmth of her skin surprised him, as did the gentleness of her grip. Kthira's 4 eyes gleamed with approval. Then let it be known that I, Kthira of the 7th Fleet, declare my intention to court Marcus Davidson of Earth. May the stars witness our beginning. As if on cue, the station's warning system blared to life. Attention all personnel, unauthorized Valkyrian presence detected in Science Sector 3. Security teams respond. Kthira's expression shifted to what might have been amusement. Perhaps I should have announced my arrival through official channels. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. I think we're about to cause quite a stir. Good, Kthira said firmly. Let them stir. Changes worth making rarely come quietly. Standing beside the towering warrior, watching security officers scramble through the lab's windows, Marcus realized his life would never be the same. And somehow, that thought excited him more than it terrified him. "You want me to what?" Marcus stared at the ornate armor laid out before him, its proportions clearly meant for someone 3 times his size. Cthulhu's 4 eyes sparkled with what he'd learned to recognize as amusement. The ceremony of first intent requires both participants to wear traditional warrior garb. I have had this specially crafted to fit your form. 2 weeks had passed since Cthulhu's dramatic declaration in his lab, and Marcus was still adjusting to the whirlwind of Valkyrian courtship customs. The station's administration had eventually accepted Cthulhu's presence, though not without extensive diplomatic negotiations and more than a few raised eyebrows. "Won't I look ridiculous?" Marcus lifted a pauldron designed to fit his shoulder. Despite being scaled down, it still felt imposingly heavy. "I mean, I'm not exactly built like a Valkyrian warrior." "You worry too much about appearances," Cthulhu said, helping him with the complex series of clasps. "Our warriors come in many forms. Size does not determine worth." As she helped him don the armor, Marcus marveled at the gentleness of her touch. Those same hands could bend steel, yet they moved with incredible precision when handling something, or someone, delicate. He'd learned that Valkyrians possessed remarkable muscle control, a necessity for a species of their size that often dealt with smaller races. "There," Cthulhu said, stepping back to admire her work. "Now you look like a proper Valkyrian mate." The armor, though heavy, fit surprisingly well. Its platinum-like surface had been etched with patterns that matched Cthulhu's own markings, symbolizing their intended bond. "The ceremony begins in 1 hour, she continued. "Are you prepared for the ritual combat?" Marcus nearly choked. "The what?" "I jest." Cthulhu's lower eyes crinkled in what he now knew was the Valkyrian equivalent of a smile. "Though you should see your face when I mention combat." Very funny. Marcus was learning that despite their fearsome reputation, Valkyrians had a surprisingly well-developed sense of humor. "I'm starting to think you enjoy watching me panic." "Only because you recover so gracefully," she replied, adjusting one of his armor plates. "Many would have fled after learning of our bathing rituals." Marcus winced at the memory. The communal cleansing pools on Cthulhu's ship had been an experience. "I still say the water didn't need to be quite that hot." "Heat purifies," Cthulhu recited, then paused. "Though perhaps next time we can adjust the temperature for your more delicate human physiology." Their conversations often went like this, a constant dance of compromise and adaptation. For every Valkyrian custom Marcus struggled with, Cthulhu faced equal challenges adapting to human ways. She'd nearly destroyed a cafeteria chair her first time trying to eat in the human section of the station, and still found human portions laughably small. The station's crew had gradually begun to accept their unusual relationship, though reactions varied widely. Some found it fascinating, particularly the xenobiologists and cultural researchers. Others kept their distance, whether from fear of Cthulhu or disapproval of their relationship. "Marcus," Cthulhu's tone grew serious. "There is something we must discuss before the ceremony." He looked up at her, noting the subtle shift in her posture that indicated concern. "What is it?" "Word of our courtship has reached the Valkyrian High Command. Some question the wisdom of such a union. They believe humans are too fragile, too short-lived for true partnership." Marcus felt his heart sink. "Are they going to try to stop this?" "They cannot stop what has been properly declared," Cthulhu said firmly. "But they can make things difficult. There will be challenges ahead, tests of our commitment. Then we'll face them together." Marcus reached up to touch her arm, having learned this was a gesture of deep significance in Valkyrian culture. "I knew this wouldn't be easy when I accepted your declaration." Cthulhu's 4 eyes softened at his touch. "You continue to prove my choice wise, little warrior." A chime sounded through the chamber, the 15-minute warning for the ceremony. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the armor and everything it represented. Ready to scandalize two species, he asked with a grin. Kthira laughed, the sound rich and resonant. With you by my side? Always. The challenge came 3 days after the ceremony of first intent. Marcus was in his lab when the station's warning klaxons blared to life. This time, it wasn't just Kthira causing a stir, an entire Valkyrian warship had dropped out of hyperspace directly alongside the station. Attention all personnel, the station AI announced. Valkyrian vessel approaching. Stand by for diplomatic delegation. Marcus was already running toward the main docking bay, his heart pounding. Kthira had warned him this might happen, but he hadn't expected it so soon. When he arrived, he found Kthira already there, her posture rigid with tension. War Chief Renara, Kthira said as the airlock cycled open. You're far from your assigned sector. The Valkyrian who stepped through the airlock was even taller than Kthira, her armor bearing the marks of countless battles. Deep scars crossed her purple skin, and all 4 of her eyes fixed on Marcus with predatory intensity. So this is the human you would disgrace our bloodline with? Renara's voice dripped with contempt. He doesn't even reach your shoulder. My choice is made, Kthira said firmly. And declared before witnesses. Then I invoke the right of challenge. Renara's hand dropped to the ceremonial blade at her hip. Let him prove his worth in combat, if he dares. Marcus stepped forward before Kthira could respond. I accept. Both Valkyrians turned to stare at him, Kthira with concern, Renara with amusement. You accept? Renara laughed. You don't even know what you're accepting, little human. Then explain it to me. Marcus met her gaze steadily, despite having to crane his neck to do so. Or are you afraid I might actually succeed? Renara's amusement vanished. 3 trials. Strength, cunning, and will. Fail any one, and Kthira must renounce her claim. Succeed, and she grimaced, and none may question your union again. Marcus, Kthira's voice was low. You don't have to do this. There are other ways. No, he said firmly. I'm tired of people questioning us. When do we begin? Now, Renara smiled coldly. The first trial is strength. You must move that. She pointed to a massive cargo container, easily weighing several tons. Marcus studied the container, then smiled. Any method I choose? As long as you do not touch it directly, Renara confirmed, clearly expecting him to fail. Marcus walked to the nearest control panel and began typing. You know what I love about space stations? Everything's automated. The cargo container's anti-grav units hummed to life, and with a few more commands, it glided smoothly across the bay. Renara's eyes narrowed. Clever. But the trial of cunning won't be so easily solved. She produced a complex mechanical puzzle, its surfaces covered in Valkyrian script. Solve this within 1 rotation. None of your technology allowed. Marcus took the puzzle, turning it over in his hands. The scripts were mathematical formulas, complex ones, but not unlike what he dealt with in xenobiology. He began manipulating the sections, his fingers finding patterns in the chaos. 3 hours later, the puzzle clicked and unfolded like a metallic flower. Renara's expression had shifted from contempt to grudging interest. Impressive, she admitted. But the final trial will break you. The trial of will requires you to withstand pain without crying out. No human has ever done. Marcus rolled up his sleeve, revealing a fresh burn mark. I got that testing a new specimen yesterday. Didn't make a sound then, won't make one now. Kthira stepped forward. He has passed your trials, Renara. Through intelligence rather than brute force, through understanding rather than blind manipulation, and through existing proof rather than needless demonstration. Renara was silent for a long moment. Finally, she inclined her head slightly. Perhaps I was hasty in my judgment. You have chosen an unusual mate, Kthira, but not an unworthy one. After Renara departed, Kthira turned to Marcus. That was either very brave or very foolish. I learned from the best, he grinned. Though I have to admit, I was more confident about the puzzle than the strength test. Kthira's eyes crinkled with pride. You proved something today, not just to Renara, but to any who would doubt us. You showed that strength comes in many forms. Speaking of strength, Marcus rubbed his shoulders. I don't suppose you'd be willing to help me recover from all that puzzle solving? Those pieces were heavy. Come, she said, taking his hand carefully in hers. I will show you the Valkyrian art of muscle restoration. Though perhaps with less pressure than we usually use. As they walked away from the docking bay, Marcus couldn't help but feel proud. He'd faced one of the most fearsome warriors in the Valkyrian fleet and emerged victorious, not through power, but through being uniquely himself. The summons came on what would have been a quiet morning in the lab. Marcus stared at the official transmission, his coffee growing cold beside him. Immediate attendance required, Earth Diplomatic Council. He'd known this was coming. After Renara's challenge, their relationship had become more than just a curiosity, it was now a diplomatic incident. The first officially recognized human-Valkyrian coupling had implications far beyond their personal lives. They're calling you too? Kthira entered his lab, having to duck as always. She held a similar notice from the Valkyrian High Command. Looks like our little romance is causing quite a stir in high places. Marcus tried to sound light-hearted, but worry gnawed at him. Think they'll try to separate us? Let them try. Kthira's 4 eyes flickered with determination. I did not choose you lightly, and I will not discard you for political convenience. The joint hearing was held in the station's largest conference room, though it still felt cramped with the Valkyrian delegates present. On one side sat the Earth Diplomatic Council, led by Ambassador Richard Way. On the other, 3 towering Valkyrian High Command representatives, their armor gleaming under the artificial lights. This unprecedented situation, Ambassador Way began, raises serious concerns about genetic compatibility, cultural integration, and potential diplomatic complications. The Valkyrian High Command shares these concerns, rumbled High Commander Dvex. Our species have only recently established peaceful relations. This union could jeopardize everything we've built. Marcus felt Kthira tense beside him. He reached over and took her hand, a gesture that caused murmurs from both sides of the room. With respect, Marcus said, standing to address both parties, I'd like to point out that our relationship has already demonstrated the potential for meaningful cooperation between our species. Explain, Dvex demanded. In the past month, I've learned more about Valkyrian biology, culture, and technology than all our previous diplomatic exchanges combined. Kthira has gained similar insights into humanity. We've solved practical problems of coexistence that your committees have only theorized about. Kthira stood as well, her presence commanding immediate attention. The ancient laws of our people speak of strength through diversity. We seek worthy mates not just for physical prowess, but for the new perspectives they bring. Marcus has proven his worth in ways our traditional trials never anticipated. But the practical concerns Ambassador Way started. Are already being addressed, Marcus interrupted. We've developed new protocols for shared living spaces, adapted communication methods, even created new medical guidelines. Every challenge has led to innovations that could benefit both species. A younger Earth diplomat leaned forward. You're suggesting your relationship could serve as a prototype for future human-Valkyrian cooperation? Exactly, Kthira said. Already, other humans and Valkyrians on this station interact more freely. Fear and prejudice diminish when they see us working together. High Commander Dvex's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones widened, a sign of deep thought in Valkyrians. You speak of practical benefits, but what of offspring? The continuation of bloodlines is sacred to our people. Marcus had been prepared for this. We've already discussed this. Cthulhu's position as war chief doesn't require biological heirs. We plan to adopt both human and Valkyrian children. Our family will be a bridge between cultures, not a dead end. The room fell silent as both sides considered this. Finally, Ambassador Wei spoke. Perhaps we've been looking at this the wrong way. Instead of seeing it as a problem to solve, we should view it as an opportunity to explore. The warrior finds paths where the diplomat sees walls, Dvex said slowly, quoting an ancient Valkyrian proverb. Your union is unprecedented, but not unwelcome. However, all four eyes fixed on them, you will be watched closely. The future of human-Valkyrian relations may well depend on your success. No pressure, Marcus muttered, earning a gentle squeeze from Cthulhu's hand that nearly crushed his fingers. As they left the conference room, Cthulhu looked down at him with all four eyes twinkling. You never mentioned adoption before. I've been thinking about it, he admitted. Ever since I saw how you handled that lost child during the station's last civilian transport. You'd make an amazing mother, even if our kids end up being 3 times my size. And you continue to surprise me, she said softly. When others see limitations, you see possibilities. Speaking of possibilities, Marcus grinned, how do you feel about proving all those stuffy diplomats right? I've got some ideas for new cross-cultural education programs. Cthulhu's laugh echoed through the corridor. Lead on, little warrior. We have worlds to change. 1 year had passed since their first meeting in Marcus's lab. The observation deck of Starbase Horizon had been transformed for the occasion, its vast windows offering a backdrop of stars and the shimmering nebula beyond. The space had been divided to accommodate both human and Valkyrian customs, one side featuring traditional Earth wedding decorations, the other adorned with the ceremonial weapons and honor marks of Cthulhu's people. Marcus stood before a mirror, adjusting his unique attire, a fusion of human formal wear and Valkyrian armor. The chest piece bore the markings of Cthulhu's clan, while the suit underneath was a crisp Earth diplomatic uniform. Ambassador Wei had insisted on the latter, given the ceremony's historic significance. Having second thoughts? Dr. Patel, his longtime research partner, appeared beside him. About Cthulhu? Never. Marcus smiled. About having to recite Valkyrian marriage vows in front of 2 governments' worth of dignitaries? Maybe a little. You'll do fine, she assured him. You've been practicing for months. The ceremony space filled quickly, humans on their standard-sized chairs on one side, Valkyrians on their reinforced seating platforms on the other. The division wasn't as stark as it once would have been. Many from both species had chosen to sit in the mixed central area, a testament to how things had changed over the past year. The traditional Valkyrian horn sounded, its deep note resonating through the chamber. Marcus took his position at the center of the room, heart pounding beneath his ceremonial armor. Cthulhu entered, and his breath caught. She wore traditional Valkyrian battle regalia, but it had been modified with elements of human formal wear. Flowing fabric panels in Earth diplomatic colors complemented her armor. Her purple skin bore freshly painted clan markings, and all 4 of her eyes shone with emotion when they met his. High Commander Dvex stepped forward, his voice filling the chamber. We gather to witness a union unprecedented in our histories. When Cthulhu first declared her choice, many doubted. Many questioned. Today, we see the wisdom in what we once thought foolish. Ambassador Wei joined him. This ceremony represents more than the joining of 2 individuals. It symbolizes the potential for understanding between our peoples, the possibility that our differences need not divide us. Cthulhu reached Marcus, having to kneel slightly to take his hands in hers. The size difference that had once seemed so daunting now felt natural, comfortable. Marcus began the traditional Valkyrian vows, his voice clear and strong in the ancient language he'd studied so diligently. "Under the eternal stars, I pledge my strength to your strength, my honor to your honor, my life to your life." Kthira responded with the human vows they'd chosen, her melodious voice giving the familiar words new meaning. To love and to cherish, in peace and in war, in the depths of space and the warmth of home, until the stars themselves grow dark. They exchanged tokens, a Valkyrian warrior's band for her, size down for his wrist, and a human wedding ring for her, custom-made to fit her larger hand. "By the laws of Earth," Ambassador Wei proclaimed. "By the traditions of Valkyria," Dvex continued. "We recognize this union," they finished together. The chamber erupted in a mixture of human applause and the traditional Valkyrian war cry of celebration. Kthira lifted Marcus effortlessly, bringing them face to face for their first kiss as a married couple, a human tradition she'd grown quite fond of. Later, at the reception, they found a quiet moment together near the observation windows. The nebula's colors painted Kthira's skin in shifting patterns of light. "Happy?" she asked, all four eyes soft as she looked down at him. "More than I ever thought possible." Marcus leaned against her, both of them watching the mix of humans and Valkyrians socializing freely. "Look at them, a year ago, they could barely be in the same room together." "We showed them a different way," Kthira said proudly. "Though I believe someone promised me a dance." Marcus grinned. "Ready to scandalize everyone one last time?" "My little warrior," she laughed, taking his hand, "we're just getting started." They moved to the dance floor, where they'd practiced for weeks to adapt human and Valkyrian dance styles to their unique partnership. As they danced, others began to join them, humans and Valkyrians alike, each finding their own way to move together. Under the light of distant stars, two individuals who had dared to look past size, species, and social expectations moved as one, their love a beacon for all who witnessed it. In their unity, they had found not just personal happiness, but a path forward for both their peoples. And somewhere in the station's nursery wing, files were already being prepared for their first adoption applications, the next step in their continuing adventure together.